Church service. I'm just going to put my emphasis more on service. Patriotism have throughout history gotten the foot soldiers of men who believed they were fighting for their country when they were actually fighting the wars of people who weren't willing to fight for their country. They were busy making transactions behind the scenes for the country and for their own legacy, not yours. Okay. And in the name of service, you basically signed up to end your life for someone else's war. And that's, if you study the history of war, there's some wars that needed to be fought with people. Okay. And I'm talking about like Hitler. There was some wars that were authentic, but there's also a lot of them that are just basically you're in service and you sign up for it, and they convince you to sign up for it very well, because the more you are part of the larger scope of the ones who are called the heroes, you get to wear the same title, and it makes you feel good about yourself, right? God has a way of really breaking down all those elements in our lives that we don't desire any kind of being valid anymore amongst the commonality of the human race. But we're cut out, separated, called from onto God. And all throughout history, religion itself has always had a very big hold. People have preyed upon the simplicity of others through the means of religion, because they know it tugs at one of the most tenderest parts of a human being, their eternity, their God, where they're going, their fears, even their fear of God. And it can get them to serve a cause, a group of people, a congregation, a denomination, anything, a country, all on the basis that, well, they're doing the right thing. It's my duty to serve. When you're in a congregation and they put it out, they do get you to give your money to them to fund what I believe is a huge is a huge um, a pyramid. It's like I mean, it is an organization. It really is. It's a corporate. It's a business, right? But the thing is, when you're in there, they use those words, and they even use it so much so that it tricks your brain of what service to God really means, right? Because service to God is basically the first four of the commandments was that certain things that God does not want you to do, like making idols, like being careful with His name, and and so on and so forth. And the last six has a lot to do with how you would deal with your fellow man. That's the kind of service that God is more interested in. And he would boil it down in a small increment. If you remember anything in the Bible, it's just this: to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God, right? When service comes up in a service, they say, oh, we're going to the service, right? Well, the more the merrier. When you enter in, you become part of the numerical value within the system, within that equation. And that service depends, even though they will make you believe that you're dependent on them, they use the and I'm careful with this when I'm saying, but they use the trickery of the show to get you believe that you're doing a service unto God by going there, right? And it's turned out to be tradition. It's turned out to be the same old, and God all throughout history, even through his son, he said that he wouldn't really do a lot of things in the midst of people who turn his word, who turn his stuff into tradition, by which they made the word of God of no effect. He can't come into the midst through his power when it turns into a level, but you are convinced to go to the service. The next thing about being service is that you're going to be assimilated into the next word with it. It's called servitude or servanthood, right? When you're there, this way you're going to serve is by doing, and God sure likes your sure likes your singing and everything else, right? But it's all part of the wholesomeness of the show, right? And the thing is, part of the service, if it comes the other part, it is your service to give your money. And a lot of people, what they do is they give their time. They get called upon to do certain things. And throughout history, it has turned out to be an abusive means, preying upon the simple service to God. People get taken advantage of because of the word service. It has a huge connotations, because you know why? We were taught from really young that it is our rightful due to serve our parents. Then we come into society, we go into school, we're taught to be a better citizen by serving our community, by becoming a part of the community by whatever you'll study to become, right? The thing is that anything that even goes on into society and the rules and the principles all has the connotations of serving, right? So it's something that's so part of you that when it comes up, it will be an automatic response of yes. You will say yes to service anytime, anywhere. Doesn't matter where. People can actually put up a flag of Jesus Christ and they can say they're marching against blah, 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 and you will, out of service, go and do it. That's why the Ku Klux Klan, for instance, were able to use the cross, were able to use religious uh, um, symbolism to get the rest of the people involved in doing brutal acts against other human beings, all in the name of service to God. And it wasn't from God. And that's gone on all throughout history. You know, there's even stories said that Hitler, that the Catholic Church used to bless the Sherman tanks, right? Religious symbolism. People get turned onto it so easily, and out of it, they serve the symbolism because service is so part of their life, who they are, their identity. So it's been a bit of a nice, I trust it's a nice talk. Where you coming as a human being as you're growing, and it's kind of hard when it has to take years and decades to kind of come to your senses about a lot of things. Service is a good thing. Where you're serving, yes. Who you're serving is the most important part of it. We're called to serve God, not in our own interpretation, not in someone else's interpretation, but that you get it right. But that you get it right. There are certain things that's so simple to do that you will do in life that's called service to God. The way you treat other people, your manners, the dignity by which you live and how you live even towards other people, not cheating other people, all those things are service to God. That's the kind of service that is got a big, massive 100% approval from God. How it's not even a matter of saying I trust Jesus Christ, but how you're going to trust Jesus Christ, right? I mean, even said, if you were read what he had to say to the seven churches, right? He said he knew their works and all these other things, but he says he wasn't happy with what he saw. He wasn't happy. He wasn't happy with it. He had strange teachings of other people, and they were leaning to mysticism, and some one of them had the idiotic woman following some idiot woman named Jezebel, who was prophesying to them and teaching them how to become woo. And then he comes along and he's telling them, you're serving the wrong thing. So it's of real importance that when you're serving Jesus Christ, number one, he will guarantee show you who or what or where has his approval on it, and who or what or where doesn't. Your service to Jesus Christ matters, because in the end, he says everything will be tested. And only those things that really comes from him, that has his fruit, will basically prevail, will stand. But he says the rest of it will be taken and thrown into the fire. He'll have no use for it. And so I would just say this as a inspiration to you. The only kind of service you're interested in is God approved service. Have a good day, and do like and subscribe.